All right. Can you hear me, Nicole? Can you hear me? All right. Let me see. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Gosh, all this techie stuff is driving me nuts tonight. Sorry,
No,
everyone.
yeah.
Sorry, everyone. So tonight, if everyone can hear me, I don't know what's happening, but the Facebook isn't going live, but it is live right now on YouTube. So later on, I'll just share it over on Facebook. But I do got with me Nicole Escobar. So we have a pretty sensitive topic tonight. We're going to be talking about deconstructing from religious boxes, religious trauma. We're going to be sharing a little bit of our journeys with our spiritual walks and just coming out of the church. I know we both kind of like, I want to say we both grew up in the church, right, Nicole? You grew up in the church, right?
Yeah, pretty much my whole life.
Yeah, so you know what's up. And we've been talking on and off for some weeks now. We kind of found each other on Instagram, and I just knew I needed to get her on. And I have another friend who's kind of connected us too, and he's like, you should do a podcast with her. And I've been wanting to do more with people who have come out of the church. But it is a touchy subject, and I am open to the touchy subjects. Like, I'm not scared of them, but I've just been waiting for the right time to kind of go into this with someone who understood. So, yeah, I guess if you want to start, Nicole, just kind of maybe share like what's on your heart and where you've come in your journey and, leading up to now.
I basically, feel the same way. This subject is really, really sensitive for a lot of people. And sometimes, like myself included, there's a lot of trauma that I still have to get through, just as much as I'm trying to tell other people about their trauma. It still triggers me sometimes how I was in something for so long of my life. And I based everything that I did around this. And now to not have that like security, it just feels like, whew, like a weight has been lifted, but at the same time, like you're kind of nervous because there's so much more to learn and to keep exploring and to keep healing and to keep surfacing. And it's just, for me and the church and religion as a whole, it's been a journey for sure. I would say like I started off like, okay, so by the time I was born, I was basically in church. And up until I was like 18 is when I finally just like dropped everything. But up until then, I've been kind of like on the fence, like every day going to church and trying to make it work, And so,
did you always feel like you like never quite fit in? There was always something like, I don't know, like for me, it just was like I was trying to be in like the cliques with the women, and I was trying to like feel something, and I was coming from a place, I think a lot of us are coming from a place of like hurt going into the church, and like we're looking for like connection with people and healing from our father wounds, and we get so sucked in, but a lot of us were programmed into it, so it's like hard to get out of it.
Yeah, I feel like I was more in the like program, like I was more programmed in it because I was a diehard. Like I would lose friends. I would fight to the death over like my religion and how much I love Jesus and how much like this was so important to me, and how you're wrong if you think that Jesus didn't die for you on the cross. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to me how like now I look back at how my entire perspective on everything was revolving around what I was being told when I walked into a building, and what was I being told inside of one specific book. And like to think that I was being that closed-minded is like, maybe it's like not that mind-blowing to like a lot of people who aren't that religious, but like to someone who's really been in this, like I thought I was like doing a good thing, or like being a good person, not necessarily by going to church or anything, but being a good person by being, on this journey or this path per se. Because a lot of people say like, oh, well, Nicole, what are people going to do if there's not a Bible around or there's not a church around? And I'm like, well, they would be able to think for themselves, like there wouldn't be someone telling them, well, if this isn't how this is supposed to go, then you're wrong.
Yes, yes. Well, and I think it's crazy because a lot of like the church doesn't think about this though, because I would bring up things and topics to my pastors and be like, well, what about this and what about this, and like they would completely bypass it and be like, no, we don't need to get into all that stuff. Just stay connected to, stay your focus on Jesus, and you're going the right path. And like I'm like, dude, I have serious questions. Like, why the fuck is a God, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be cussing on here, but why is a God circumcising babies and mutilating their privates, and why is this and why is it? And I would like bring up these like hardcore questions, and I could see in them they would like think a little bit, but it was always like they would shut me down, and they would be like, you shouldn't be questioning those things. It's God's word. It was his covenant. Yeah. And like, it was always just something that like, I just never inside had peace about. And there was all these things I would question, like, why isn't there more stories about women? Why is it so like oppressive to women? Why do we have a patriarchal, like a male God? Why don't they talk about anything female? And then when you do talk about anything female, it's like demonized. The matriarchy was totally demonized, like gods and goddesses, anything goddess you talk about, it's like so demonized, it's not even funny. And so things like that I just really started questioning, and the more that I started questioning, I'm just like, no one has any answers for me. And there's just other things, like I would just bring up, well, other people are having supernatural experiences all over the earth, and they think what they believe is right too. So who's to tell them that they're wrong?
Exactly.
And who's to say they're not experiencing the Holy Spirit in another form or something? But they're wrong, and they're going to go to hell because...
And and what's crazy is that we weren't the only ones. Like, we're sitting in church, or we were sitting in church, and there were people there who, like, our leaders, or we would ask them questions like, well, what do you really think that the rapture this or the rapture that? And they would be like, well, they would all have their own individual opinions in it, but they wouldn't have enough guts to stand in their own thought. It's like they had these questions, but they would always revert to, oh, well, I'm not allowed to ask this because God knows best, and I'm not supposed to understand him.
Right.
And it's like, how are you not supposed to understand? Like, why are there certain things in life that we don't understand?
Right. And I think that there's like, because I've questioned this a lot, like I'm like, there was good times. It wasn't always bad. It wasn't always like this yucky feeling. There was times I really did think that I felt the Holy Spirit. I seen healings. I seen these supernatural encounters. So it wasn't always bad, but
it wasn't Jesus Christ being present within us. You know what I'm saying? It was the fact that we were coming in a building and we felt like we had community. We all felt like we were a part of something bigger than ourselves. So naturally, we all have this sense of, feeling of comfort,
right,
and joy when we're around, especially when we're singing and when we're harmonizing and when we're doing fun things, like fun activities. So we mask all these things, and that's really a ritual, right? But we sit in church and these pastors want to say, oh, the Bible says that he hates all your rituals or some shit like that. He's like, all of that is worth nothing. But it's like, what are we doing here? We have communion. These are all rituals. And all of us, you think that you're good people because we come to church, but I promise you, there's not that many people who open their Bibles every single day.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's really not. They have apps on their phones and they get their little message and they go on about their life like they do everything else.
Yeah. And a lot of the church, what it does is it bypasses a lot of different things. I found that too. I'm like, I would bring up things going on in the world, like for instance, with the jabs and all of that. They could go on all day long about new age this, new age that, witches this, but you bring up something that's really going on, like sex trafficking, child pedophilia, like all this stuff in the world, that you can't get on that pulpit and be like, yo, y'all injecting yourselves with some shit. Like, and you can't talk about anything going on like that, but you can go on all day long and demonize the divine feminine and demonize this and that. I remember the last day that I was there at church, I prayed so hard the night before, and I was like, God, just give me confirmation, because I knew he was telling me, like, you're going to go on this journey and you're going to have to leave the church. And I'm like, is this really who I'm hearing from? Like, I knew it was God telling me, like, you have a journey to take, and it doesn't involve being in a building with church people. Like, you have a deeper calling, to join the people that are like you. Like, you're the mom of misfits. Like, you're gonna come together with more star seeds and indigos and people who are like, they know what's up. And so the last day I was there, man, I just remember, like, God, just give me confirmation. If this is what you want me to do, I'll leave. And I started, like, slowly detaching myself from church. Like, I remember I told the pastor, like, I'm leaving the nursery. So I did that like a month prior, and then I had like a set date I was officially going to leave. And the last day I was there, this lady got up on the pulpit, and she's like talking about the divine feminine movement that's hitting Adrian, which is where I live. And she's like, this is a very satanic movement. And I ran into like women who have this crystal shop downtown, and she's just like dogging on these women. And I'm just like, girl, you don't even know anything what you're talking about. And I'm like,
wow.
And I was like, I literally, I felt so sick to my stomach. I'm like, oh my God, the cognitive dissonance, I was just like, I got to get out of here. And I felt like for months I was this caged bird that needed to get out of this cage I was in, this box that I had put myself in. And I kept saying to myself, the only reason you believe this stuff, Rachel, is because from a small child on up, your parents got you into this. They were into religion, and you were programmed. You are in a matrix, and you're allowing people to think for you. Are you really thinking for yourself? And I had to be real with myself. I'm like, dude, like, you stand for truth. You stand for thinking for yourself. Are you thinking for yourself? Because I don't think you are. You're listening to people that have wrote a book 2,000 years ago. And who knows, then you find out later that that's not even true. Like, people have manipulated that book so much. And men sat around like, oh, we're going to put this in. We're going to take this out. We're going to put this in. But everything about like aliens, divine feminine, like, nah, we're going to just leave that out. Ascension mechanics, we're going to leave that out. Stargates, like.
And to think that they really believe that this book has been not messed with. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just been passed down. We have all this oppression, all this systematic oppression everywhere else. But this is the one book that's going to unite the whole world, please.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. It's really crazy how deep this goes and how it has suppressed really the divine feminine overall. And it's like really about patriarchy. It's about control. And it goes as deep as like the invaders, like alien invaders coming and putting these holographic inserts into humanity. And I tell people, because I found out like later, like about the cube of Saturn, which is all these religions are connected to Saturn. Like even like in Islam and stuff, the cube that they worship, or what is it, the Mecca?
Yeah, the Mecca.
This is like a stone, a crystal. It houses information, and these people are marching around it all day long, giving their energy to it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is what these religions really are. Like, it is deeper than we could ever even know. And it's about these beings that are looshing our energy. And a lot of these people that are worshiping these fallen gods or whatever the heck they are calling themselves, it's like, some of these people are high-coded angelic beings themselves, and they're giving this energy to these like beings that are like
Yep.
deceiving them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same shit that's been going on for like thousands and thousands of years. You see it with like the Aztecs, the Mayans, like, oh, we're gonna
But
get rain.
at the same time, they have all these minions doing their work, like low-key subconsciously not even knowing what they're doing. Like I went to, I don't know if you ever went to like these Christian camps where you would go for like a week.
Oh yeah.
And you would, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you've ever been to something called like Fuge Camp, or they would
I've
do
been to
like
like
work
a few of
camps,
them.
like they would go to the mountains. But I went to this one Fuge camp, and the literal symbol was like a freaking cube. It had like the I don't even know how they made it into a cube, but they had the word fuge spelled into a cube, and that was the name of the camp, and it was a Christian camp. And up until now, at 22 years of age, it took me to realize what was going on. Like
Yeah.
at the time, I was just a 13, 14-year-old girl going for a week with my friends, going to sing Christian music, play games, eat food, be gone for a whole week from my house in the mountains. And it was like, subconsciously, I don't think that many people were really aware of, because I don't think many people are really aware up until like you bring it to their attention that, you know, I just don't know, like if it ever comes across like their minds, you know, like
it's like cognitive dissonance. Like they're so brainwashed. They can't see the truth. Like some of us have woken up though. Like I've seen masses of droves of people that have left the church. Like I know tons of them that have left in the last year or two. Like since 2020, something in 2020 happened because like that was my greater awakening. And I did a painting. It's called like The Seer, the White Owl, but it was like dealing with like us seeing in 2020 vision, and it was dealing with the greater awakening. Like I felt like something shifted and humanity had this like uprising of mass consciousness, and something freed us, and many of us were like able to see and hear the truth for the first time. And then some people just stayed stuck, and so it's like the cognitive dissonance. They just wanted,
right.
yeah. And it's like my parents are still in that, all that stuff. And like even the other day, and it's so triggering for me still, so freaking triggering. My mom messaged me and she's like, hey, I gotta be honest with you. I see the path that you're going, and you just have to go back to Jesus because Satan really wants you, and he's gunning for you, and I see it in your posts. And I'm just like, Mom. And I have to put up boundaries. And these people don't have boundaries. Like, you try to set boundaries with them, and they will push against your free will. Like, no, you accept our beliefs. And a lot of them are very hateful when you, like, tell them.
Family members tell me that I don't believe in God anymore. They're like, yeah, she deadass doesn't believe in God anymore. And I was sitting at the table looking at them like, I probably believe in God more than anybody in this whole house does. Like,
right.
Honestly, like,
it's like they assume that we like abandoned like our creator or something because we don't believe in what they believe in. And it's like,
but then again, at the same time, I feel like they could just be like scared. Like, it's just fear talking. Like, why are you acting like you don't have questions? Why are you acting like you just blindly follow orders? Like, that's not you.
Because I think it's like almost connected to a lot of our trauma too. Like these religions, they really get us hooked because a lot of us have like this trauma. We want the need for connection, and
or we were going through something really, really tough and dangerous in our life where we thought we were going to die, and we didn't, and we thought that was Jesus because our parents told us that that's who was going to be the person to save us during that experience. So you have this deep connection with this savior because they saved you before, but in reality you don't know like that it was your will getting you out of that situation,
right? Right. And then you emotionally,
that's hard for a lot of people to grasp. Like they really, really want this idea of this person, this almighty person who's going to come pick you up out of everything.
Yeah, no, I agree. I gotta shut my door because I don't know if there's like back noise if you're hearing it. I'm so sorry if you are, but I didn't even think about that. I'm like, oh, shut that door. But no, I agree. It's crazy. We just need this emotional support in a lot of people. For me, it was like about acceptance, and I realized it like I felt abandonment my whole life, and I wanted to be liked, and I wanted to be like accepted, and I needed the support. And it really was all me, like doing this work on myself, like knowing my higher self was just helping me the whole time. And I'd never like forsaken God. I always knew there was a creator. It just wasn't, I don't believe like it is how they believe anymore. Like, you know, I don't think you're going to hell because you're living with your boyfriend, or like, you're not going to be blessed because, and I was told that so many times, you're not going to be blessed because you're living with the guy you're living with. And I'm like, that's all we've been, is been blessed. What you talking about? You know, like, so just harmful, outdated ideas, and these men in our history like made these decisions and somehow got the world to believe it.
I think for me, another big thing is that like when people look back at their history, like their real
roots, I don't want to say everyone, but a lot of people are very, very indigenous. You know what I'm saying? And like our ancestry has been through so much because of religion.
Yeah.
And the fact that religion loves to slide all of this shit under the rug. Like it never happened. Like y'all didn't just genocide hella people and kill them and force them to take this on. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, think about the schools they just found in Canada, like all the little Native American kids. There's thousands of them that were dead because of religion. And they took us so far away from like the earth and Mother Earth and nature and animals, and it's just so crazy. Like, and all the demonization of everything. You know, like even crystals, like you talk about crystals, it's like, you know, God created them, hello, and they're like, and they do house energy, and like there is healing frequencies from them, but it's demonic, you know, you can't talk about that kind of stuff. It's like, man, y'all have some outdated ideas and you don't want to admit it, and you're holding on to this harmful, suppressed belief system that's doing nothing for the human consciousness. It's just keeping us in chains, and I'm just done with it. I don't want anything to do with it anymore. That's hard to tell people because they don't want to accept that about me.
No.
And still think I'm a good person. Like, they all literally think I'm like just being completely deceived. And I'm like, do you know I'm the happiest I've been in a really long time? Like, I
really believe that that's hard for people to accept.
Yeah,
they
like
really think that like we were supposed to be our happiest in church, but like the way that y'all describe, first of all, y'all describe this as I'm gonna get baptized and then I'm gonna be good for the rest of my life, and that's all I needed to do, first of all. But then the moment that I get baptized also is the moment that hell is supposed to be gonna break loose, because all the demons are gonna be trying to get me because I'm more special or some shit because I'm saved.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, I couldn't even I was constantly, every time I walked into church, I felt guilt. Mm-hmm. Every time. I couldn't even, like, the only thing that made me happy in church was singing.
I know, right?
Singing and being around people that I enjoyed being around. But other than that, like, it was just a pile of everyone's opinions. And then not only that, but I grew up in a Baptist church.
Oh.
Yeah, and
I grew up in a
it's not that it wasn't as like I could, you know, we could rank, you know, how bad churches are, and the Baptist church, they're just not that bad, but because they're not that strict. But the problem with them is that they lack accountability.
Oh yeah,
like everyone wants to just hide. It's like hide everyone's secrets under. But not only hide your secrets, you want to talk about everyone's secrets and then judge them on their secrets. And then bring them all together and have food together and then go to church on Sunday.
Yeah, that's what I noticed.
Like we like each other.
Every time I would go into church, I'd have this like in the pit of my stomach anxiety. I never knew why. I'm like, oh, I feel so like coming in here. And like, then I would get filled up because we'd start singing and I'm like, oh, it's just, you know, it's just stress. Normal. Yeah, it's normal. But I'd always find myself, now that I look back, I'm like, dude, You were judging yourself,
Right.
judging everyone all the time, like constantly in your head, like who you think you have to save everyone. That's fucking annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, like I run into Christians, like not even just like 3 days ago, I ran into this guy. It was a really good encounter. Like he was like, "Are you one of those spiritual girls?" And I was like, "Yes." And he's like, "Oh, cool." And it was like a really good conversation. And then he like hit me up on Facebook because I was like, "Hey, here's my website. Like you should hit me up. Like I talk about a lot of these topics." And got on Facebook, and then like immediately like it was just like this conversation about how like I just needed to come back to God, and like he found God through looking through the sun, and he had this vision of Christ, and I'm like, it was just all projecting onto me, trying to get me to like believe what he believed. And I was like, honey, I'm far, far beyond all of that. I left that behind 2 years ago, and I'm happier for it. And I've had my own spiritual experience. And like, I'm not
Yeah.
judging you for what you're believing, but like, I'm not on that Jesus thing anymore. I'm sorry. And I have some information if you want to like hear it, but I'm not going to force things on you. And I would just appreciate if you didn't do it to me. And it was just like, dude, just he didn't care. Like, he just was like trying to force me to be saved again. He's like, you got to turn back. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't even have a conversation with you people because you don't even realize how judgmental, how like pushy, how rude this is. This is rude. Like so rude to do to someone. They're telling you like, please stop, like, and you just keep
Yeah.
going. So yeah, it's annoying. It is really annoying. It still triggers me to this day, but I've gotten better at like cutting it off, like the conversations. I try to rise above it, but they still push, and it's hard. I try to give a lot of them grace because I know they're in that whole brainwashing stuff, but yeah.
It's hard because it's a lot of our family members, you know? Like my own father, and it's because like I'll tell him like, Dad, I really don't have anything against the people in there. Like they've seen me grow up since I was a baby.
Yeah.
When I left to go to college, all the old ladies, they gave me shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't think that it hurts my heart that I can't sit here and freaking love on these people that loved on me my entire life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's the fact that these people don't really love me like the way I think they love me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like they really only love me because I'm in here. I'm like, do you think that they're gonna stay loving me the way that they're loving me in here the moment I'm out there?
Well, you find that all out.
Not doing what I'm doing in here. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Are they
yeah.
still gonna support me then?
Yeah, and you find a lot of that out after you leave. You're like, was I really even your friend? Like, did we really even know each other? Well, you got to have fellowship, you got to be in the church and have how much fellowship did we have, Susan? Because I didn't even hardly know you and you didn't know me. Like I would come there, we'd worship, and we'd spend a couple minutes after church conversating.
Exactly.
What kind of worship was that? Because you never invited me to your house. We never hung out. You never went out of your way to contact me. Like, to this day, girl, I served in that church for, I want to say 6-7 years, maybe 8 years. And then prior to that, I was in a church for 3 years. But I was in there for a hot minute. And to this day, since I left in 2020, I left in March. It was right before COVID broke out. And then COVID happened. And I was like, yes, I don't have to say anything. We're just done. I didn't get one call from anyone. Like, they left me for dead, for real. And, like, to this day, I'm like, I have not heard from a damn one of you. Not one. Not even the pastor. I'm like, well, I guess I wasn't that important because, like, and I used to do prophetic art there. I was, like, really into the ministries of prophecy and, like, man.
That's fine because it just shows how they are. You know what I'm saying? As people, and that's another problem that I had is that lucky for me, like the pastor that I had is a decent human, but at the same time, like, how could you say that? Certain people will be like, how could you say that about pastors, But he, for me, was a decent human because he would throw a lot of shit in Christians' face. He would be like, y'all are all hypocrites, stuff like that. Like, y'all come into here acting like you're a good ass family, but you were just cursing out your spouse in the car. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was certain comments and remarks that stuck with me, and it was just like, what? Hold on, I kind of like lost my train of thought.
Yeah, like, well, and then coming today, what do you feel like today? Like, where are you at today with your walk? Do you feel like a lot more positivity with everything?
Um, okay, personally, I feel a lot of positivity, but that's just me. Like me and the people that are online and people that I connect to, like friends that I have outside of my family, but like on an intermediate circle, like it's really difficult because I'm kind of like, other than, my younger brother, and like I've been trying to get my dad to understand certain things, but like I'm trying to like completely leave. Like I don't even
Hmm.
want to ask to go to church. Like I went maybe like a month ago because my dad asked me to go, but I would just sit in there and I would tell him the whole time, like, I'm only coming because you're asking me to come and you feel like you want to spend time with me and this is what you do. But at the end of the day, you know that I'm not with this. Like, and
Right.
you're gonna have to stop asking me to come. And like the past four couple times he's asked me, I'm just been like, no, no, dude, no, like you're gonna take my word this time. I'm not going with you. I don't care how it's gonna make you feel. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not respecting how I feel. Like you don't understand that I feel disrespected.
Right.
Because and it's crazy because I really do feel like that. I really do feel like there's been a lot that was stolen from me.
Mm-hmm.
And like it felt like the moment that I had left church and I started thinking for myself 100%, I felt more free.
Me
You know what I'm
too.
saying? And it felt like a scam because I'm like, how the fuck was I in here singing? Like singing and preaching about um being joyful and being this and being that, and I wasn't like
Right.
the way that I feel now. And it wasn't that I wasn't joyful, because I was joyful, but it was just a different joyful.
Yeah.
I don't know if like you know what I mean. Like
No, I know.
people who have left a cult or left a religion or left your parents thinking or grown from your past trauma, you feel freer from it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it actually felt like I was being found. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being automatically lost and found, no, like I found my way by thinking for myself.
That's some good stuff. Um, yeah, I felt, like I said, I felt like that bird in a cage coming out. I had this like spiritual awakening in 2020. I found a lot of the Guardian Christic material, and I started learning about like the fallen. I started learning about like the past betrayals, the Atlantean stuff, a lot of the like different races of beings that were controlling things and looshing energy, and like I started learning about all of that, and that was like crazy. It was like overload for me, but I was like so curious. I'm like, oh my god, this is stuff I feel like in my genetically, like I knew my whole life, like I'm just remembering it. And I
Yep,
would have these like,
exactly.
I had this past life vision girl in Egypt, and I'm like, okay, something was going on, something with Thoth, something with like us, and we're like, they don't tell us how powerful we are in the church either, because they have stripped us from our like race.
They literally demonize yoga. Like yoga, bro.
But I'm saying like our race memory, they don't talk about, and they don't even know, like we're like highly coded angelic beings. Like we have powers, and probably like could levitate back then. We like were able to like heal through frequency through our hands. Like, dude, we the things that Jesus was doing, we were probably doing like 10 times more of that, like thousands and thousands of years ago. Like we probably knew all these different things that they have kept this greater knowledge from us, and these religions have suppressed that greater knowledge. Like we were probably wizards and shit back then, and like they make all of that
No,
seem
for real.
so demonic, and I'm like, no, like it's deeper than that. So they don't talk about a lot of that stuff. And yeah, I don't know how to like deal with a lot of these people, but I'm trying to be patient with it all. I know that like humanity's catching up, and I'm giving them time, and I'm like, I just have to find my people, like you, I've, and like all these people that are awakened, and just know that like I'm not alone on this journey. We're waking up. The planetary consciousness, like it's rising. People are waking up, but it's just like little spurts, little by little. Like I'm seeing more and more people, like light bulbs going off. They're waking up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a crazy journey. Out of
I feel like for me, my transition, like, out of it also, it kind of started, like, ever since I was little, I kind of had, like, this experience where I think I was maybe, like, 9 years old, and it was in the middle of the night, and I was just, like, I was upset. I'm sorry, my cat is back there making noise. It was in the middle of the night, and I was upset about something, and I was just, like, asking God, I'm like, I was just like, I need a sign. I need to see something to scare the fuck out of me.
what?
To like prove, I was like, I need to be proven that I need to be a good person. Because I need to prove that there's consequences behind my actions type thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I would be like, okay, because you could get away from certain things. Like, I could steal something from a cookie jar. My mom would never find out. But, you know, the God always knows. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, if God really knows, show me. You know? And at the moment, I used to watch scary movies. So I'm thinking like, oh, my God, no, the devil's going to pop up. Let me stop thinking that. But before I could get out of that thought, like, bright light just shone above my bed. And, like, at the time, me and my brother shared the same room at the time. So I didn't talk to him about this until like 15 years later, I guess. Like a couple years ago, I asked him like, yo, do you remember this time? Like, I'm just going to tell you a story. Like, there was a bright light above my bed and it just freaked me the fuck out because I couldn't breathe. There was a bunch of light. There was a lot of wind blowing and it was like speaking to me, but I couldn't understand it because I was so afraid or whatever. And I literally thought I was dreaming. Like, I went my entire life knowing that this was such a crazy experience, but I kind of just ruled it off as a dream. But that was a moment where I was like, there's something, you know, like I can't put my finger on it. And I know that no one else is going to be able to tell me what it is because they're going to think I'm crazy. Or they're going to think that it's a dream because the moment that happened the next day, I told my dad about it and he was just like, you were dreaming. The window was open. Wind was blowing in. Obviously you were having a nightmare or whatever. But then I confirmed with my brother. I'm like, yo, I've thought this was a dream my entire life. Can you just please tell me that this wasn't a dream? Because we were in the same room. Like, you have to tell me that you have some sort of proof that this is what I went through. And he was like, not gonna lie, I seen a bright light above your bed, but I was so scared to turn the other way. And he was like, but it seemed like you were like either under the cover or you were like looking to the wall or whatever. But he was like, there was just a really bright light, but it felt like a good energy. Like, it wasn't a negative energy. Like, we didn't have to be afraid, but it's just that we were kids, so we were afraid. You know what I'm saying? But it felt very comforting, and it felt like it gave me the answers that I was asking for. You know, like, chill out, Nicole. You're okay. Like, yes, there are consequences. Think about what the fuck you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Because you just asked me to come here and show you this and scare you. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
But so from then, I've always had this itch to like research.
Yeah.
Even being in church, I'd be like, nah, there's more to this story.
Yeah.
Or like, damn, God dead ass just sent all y'all to kill all these people. Like, really? And so, and then another thing is I used to watch Ancient Aliens growing up with my dad. Like, after soccer practice, we would come home and watch that every single day and like new episodes. And he would just, it would just be like a tradition. And I would go to sleep having all these questions in my mind, you know what I'm saying? And then going to church the next morning, like nothing. And it was just a cycle. And then that's when I finally went to college and I started like, my dad, even when I was in college, he'd be like, have you found a church yet? Are you going to church? And I'd be like, no. Like, I'll go to church when I'm in town, when I come to see y'all. Like, I'll go to church with y'all. I'm not going to go find a new church. Like, that's pointless. Like,
my mom used to share these stories when I was younger about her alien abductions. And that always was crazy to me. I'm like, where does this all fit in?
That's crazy. You have to share that.
Yeah, so my mom, since she was a younger girl, she remembers even as a baby, like a little baby, being in her crib and seeing beings over her. But my mom had like a really traumatic childhood. Like she was a victim of sexual abuse by her father and mother. And my grandfather, her dad, was like a Freemason, like just a evil, evil man, like evil, like sodomized his sons, like raped his daughter, like it was bad. And the mom was in on it. And like her whole story, like I told her, I said, before you die, I'm going to write a book for you about your life, because her story needs to get out there. And it's not even just the sexual abuse. It's like she has all these weird, crazy, like paranormal things that happen to her. And I'm like, where does all this fit in with the Bible? But no one could ever tell me that. But anyways, since she was a little girl, like she had these time lapses she would tell me about. And then like they actually started abducting her. And she said she remembers like a few times being like completely paralyzed, and they would talk to her telepathically. And she remembers like laying on tables and them taking like her eggs and like inserting things in her belly button, in the back of her head, like they were implanting her. And she remembers, like, she told me this one story where she's like, I just laid there and I was having multiple orgasms. And then all of a sudden they come up and handed me this alien baby. She's like, and I was just like, oh, it's cute. And and the story she tells, it's so funny, like, oh, it's cute. But it was so like bizarre. And I'm like, okay, so, and I'm thinking, you know, because like you, like I like compartmentalize everything, and I'm like trying to break it down. I'm like, so what are they doing up there? Do they have a hybridization program? Are they like hybridizing us in some sort of way? Are they gonna like show up in the future and they're gonna deceive us into thinking we came from them? Like, what is going on? What are they doing? Why are they having like children with humans? And then later I learned about like the Zeta programs and all that. And I was like, oh, okay, it makes sense now that I'm learning all this. But yeah, like she had all these stories about these weird occurrences with the Greys. And she said they're like tall and short, and there's like different beings on their ships. She's seen like these insectoid different beings like in the ships, like doing the computer, like running the show. Like it was crazy. And she'd see like other people on tables next to her, and she said this went on for quite a while. And they told her that they were not going to harm her, but that she was very beautiful and she was intelligent, and they were doing experiments on the human body. I don't think that that's the truth, but I think that's what they told the humans. I think there was more to that story. But yeah, these stories were pretty nuts. So I'd always question, like, where does this fit in, and why doesn't the Bible talk about it? And then I like started hearing about the book of Enoch that they took out of the Bible, and that does talk about aliens. And I'm like, man, there is more to this story that they are not telling us, and what really is the truth. So yeah, I got into like ancient aliens and all that too. And then when they started talking about how, you know, these beings that came down and humans were having these experiences, these divine encounters, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I bet a lot of these people in the Bible were having these divine encounters, but I'm not sure if it was in the best interest of us to like, you know, oh, there are gods, there are angels, they're messengers of God. Like, yeah, that's something an invader would tell someone. Like, I'm leading you, I'm from God, I'm a messenger of God, now go sacrifice your brother on a Mayan empire. Like, and so has this stuff been going on for like millennia? Like these beings are coming down, they're just acting like they're just our gods. I'm Yahweh, I'm this, I'm that, and we're just following them blindly.
Yeah.
So that really made a lot of sense to me. Like, oh my God, they could be doing this with all religions, with all belief systems. Like, we're just like giving our worship and energy to these invaders, and they're not even God. They're not even angels. They're like beings from different dimensions or something. I don't know.
Or worse, parasites.
Yeah. So it just goes deep. And I think that we really, as a human race, need to start thinking for ourselves. We need to wake up. We need to really question these stories, these systems. We need to question everything, every little thing, and think for ourselves and really use discernment, because, you know, what someone says is the truth might not be the truth, might be just something, you know, that we're being fed.
And it really is discernment. Like, you just have to have your pure intention to want to do, you know, like the right thing and move in the right way, and ask your highest self, like, what is it that I need to do in the benefit of, like, the source of everything, like the source of my essence, like the part of me, like what is in my best interest of humanity, what is in the best interest of a sovereign person and a free person. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah, I think that it's best to, like, it's okay to talk to source, but make sure it's like the organic, eternal God source, and you can always connect to your higher self too, you know? Our highest selves have us in their best interest as well. Like us, we connect to ourselves, connected to God source. And so you don't need to go through like Archangel Michael or call on this being or call on that being. I see that all over TikTok all the time. I'm like, you know what? You had me at this, and then you lost me at, like, well, we're going to call on Michael, Archangel Michael. And I'm like, I don't call on anyone but my higher self and God. That's it. That's all I need. And people ask me all the time, where do you get all this discernment? How do you know these things? I'm like, all you need is your higher self and God. Right.
You have to transmute a lot of stuff too in order to get that discernment. Like I don't even know how to explain it.
I know, it's a lot. It's
just a lot of healing that has to be done. Like, you can't just wake up tomorrow. And for some people, maybe you can if you can heal that fast. But healing is a process, you know, and like, you're going to make mistakes, but that doesn't mean that you're not doing the work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or just because you don't feel the best doesn't mean you're not doing the work. Maybe you don't feel the best because you need to take a rest. You know what I'm saying? Your physical body needs to rest in order for you to mentally keep going. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I feel for me sometimes. Like, my physical body is taking such a beating because, like, mentally I'm going so fast.
Oh yeah.
I'm like trying to, like, I'm getting angry at this. Okay, let me analyze. Is this an emotion that I need to be feeling because it really bothers me, or is this an emotion that someone's projecting onto me because that's how they feel?
True.
You know?
True.
And it's a lot, and that comes with discernment too. Like, are they lying to you? You know, are they telling the truth? Are you lying to yourself? And I feel like for me, I gaslight myself a lot sometimes. So having that extra thought, like, let me double check myself. Am I gaslighting myself?
Well, and for me, I found out, like, a lot of the times I doubted myself, I was spot on. Like, I doubt myself so much, like, discerning things. Like, I'll know someone is not good for me, like a friend or even just like a person I met. And I'm like, something's off about them, but I can't put my finger on it. And then later on, like, they'll do me dirty, or they'll just, like, show their true colors. And I'm like, did I manifest that, or was I just, like, really picking up on that? So I, like, doubt myself a lot with things, with people. And I'll just know deep in my heart, like, something's not right. This person's not in my best interest. Like, maybe I need to, like, stay away from this person. But then I'll be like, no, you're just, you know, judging them or something. And then they'll come out. Their true colors will come out. And I'm like, I shouldn't have trusted you in the first place because I already knew. So that happens to me a lot. And then, like the projecting, like, I got to catch myself a lot. Like, do I project? Is this me, more of me, or is this someone else's energy? Are they projecting onto me? Like, am I really the issue, or are they, like, really the issue? So I've gotten good at that, and opening my throat chakra. Like, I used to be really scared to, like, speak and to speak my truth and to stand up for myself. And now I'm just like, we ain't doing that anymore.
Like, I'm not, like, you can't make a wrong or right. Like, they're not interchangeable. Right. And I feel like a lot of people, they want to live in this world of this duality because it exists. And it's like, just because it exists doesn't mean you have to make it exist. Like, maybe it's only existing because people are making it exist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, stop making it, like,
like some people could make a wrong a right and a right a wrong.
Mm.
And so many different situations. Like this person did that. Oh, they're a bad person. But somebody else could look at it. I was like, well, they're not really that bad of a person. You know, maybe there were different circumstances that led to them doing this.
Right. That's true. That is true. What else did I want to talk about tonight? Gosh. Yeah, so yeah, just leaving the church. I left in 2020. And then I got into the new age stuff. And that is a whole nother thing to talk about too, because, you know, you have to discern that as well. Like this whole love and light movement that's like very bypassy, 5D, we're gonna blah, 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 transcend this all, and we're just gonna check out. And it's like, no, we got serious work to do here on Earth. And it doesn't involve this whole, oh my God, everything's love and light, we just have to raise the frequency.
No,
And
it's really not. It's really not love and light, because sometimes you come to realize that you could be the villain in someone's story, and you have to accept that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's not love and light.
No.
I'm a projector. That's not love and light. You know, like I have flaws, I have shadows and things. You know what I'm saying? That's not love and light. But you use these shadows not in a way that they consume you, but in a way that where you use them to your best interest. You know what I'm saying? Like someone's shadow could be that they have anger issues.
True.
Okay, well, it's not the fact that you have anger issues, it's how you use your anger. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you using that anger to transmute it, or are you using that anger to throw shots at somebody?
Right.
You know?
Right. And some of the people,
and there's a balance to that.
There is a balance, and just like there's a balance to like the people that are like exposing things and sharing things and like sharing the truth and exposing the truth, you know, like I found, because I was really diehard into that for a long time. Like and I still am, like I post about the jabs, I post about the corruption of the government. Like I'm very one of those people, and I can get lost in that stuff and like post and post and post. And I've had friends like, bro, like you are blowing up my timeline because you're posting on, but it triggers them. But maybe it's good that they're getting triggered. And why are they getting triggered? Why are you getting triggered? Why are you disliking me? Because whatever. So we do need people like that to do that stuff. And I've gone rounds with the love and light community, and I think this is why it's so triggering, but I finally came to a conclusion. No one should be judging anyone. Everyone has a calling and a place in all of this, in this mass awakening. Like, we need the people who are love and light. We need the people who are warriors and light warriors. We need the people who are exposing the pedophilia in the industries. We need all of it. We all have a part to play in this, and we're all getting there. But I just, you know, for a long time, I had a lot of the love and light people attack me for sharing things.
Exactly. The same love and light people are coming on Twitter talking about, oh, you can't stop talking about this, and you're spreading negativity because you're talking about pedophiles and this and this and that, or you're manifesting this. We just want to, like, y'all are just trying to skip over the fact that this is actually happening. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like a lot of those people have their own trauma, and they're trying to bypass it, like by not dealing with it. They're the people that are very bypassy with everything in their lives. They're flighty. They can't deal with anything. They're going from relationship to relationship. Like, they're the people that have not healed themselves and haven't healed their shadows. And so when they see shadow workers talking about this, and that, it's like it's just overload for them. Like, they don't want to face it, you know. And it's like all of us, we've been facing that. We've been facing the collective shadows for a long time, and it's easy for us to just talk about. And it should be easy for everyone to talk about, but
because it's less triggering. You know, once you work through those shadows and you understand why you feel a certain type of way, and you can understand why there's multiple different perspectives, it becomes less triggering, and you can have an actual conversation and not feel personal about it, you know?
Yeah. Everyone's gonna get there eventually. I've felt like something lifted this year. From the end of last year to this year, like, I feel like I don't have to fight so hard to get this information out. Like, I do feel like I've
I agree.
I feel like it's just, I don't know, it's lightened up a little bit, and I don't feel so heavy with everything. Like, I don't feel like the evil is winning as much. If I could say that. Like, I don't feel like they're winning with their agendas as much as they would have liked to. I just feel like finally we're kind of winning. So,
In a sense, I agree. Yeah.
do you feel like that? Like, I don't know, something about something. Like, it's just lighter.
For me, I feel like it's kind of always been kind of light. You know, like I kind of like, yeah, I talk shit about religious people having a savior. You know what I'm saying? But like, I don't feel like I have a savior, but for some reason, I always feel calm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I always feel peaceful, even when I'm angry and enraged. And like, for me, I like even the same thing with duality. Like, yes, duality is like something that is not everything, but at the same time, you can learn how to use that. You know what I'm saying? So with me, I kind of balance my anger. So like, I'm such a peaceful and light and happy person, but at the same time, like, shit is not sweet
Right.
with me. Like, bro, shit is not sweet. Like, cross me the wrong way and I will rain down fire on your ass.
Right.
Like, facts. And so like, that's balancing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that is how I use duality, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I don't use it to like keep me restrained, like, oh, I need to treat this person like a good person because I need to understand why they're being like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. That's why you have to have discernment to know, does this person deserve my wrath? Or am I talking to a wall? You know, because if I'm talking to a wall, then they probably don't deserve it. I should probably save my energy and go the other way.
True. Yeah, I've had to do that many times. Like, why am I just talking to a wall right now? Are they even
the times I've tried to get through to those wall people, like, I've had to pay the price.
Oh yeah.
Like, I felt so defeated and so like sick to my stomach. Like, oh my god, like, this person is never gonna understand anything. Like, they're gonna go on probably to start cults in their future. Like, oh fuck. Like,
I agree.
And I would just go cry, and I'm like, why? I would just cry to get my emotions out, but at the same time, I'm knowing, like, Nicole, you should have just gave it up. Like, why were you even trying to convince them? Like, just live your life as an example. And that's the biggest lesson that's come up for me in my journey, is to live my life as an example. Like, let me stop telling people how to live their life and just live my fucking life.
Oh yeah.
And then they can see, like, oh, well, I can't approach Nicole because she's not going to understand this by how she lives her life. You know what I'm saying? Because so then I'm kind of creating not a barrier. And sometimes people want to say, like, oh, well, you're going to seclude yourself so far away from society and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know, in a sense, you're right. Because half of y'all motherfuckers don't know where y'all are going. And y'all are just like looping around, doing the same bullshit, talking about the same stupid shit, gossiping, talking about sports, all this crap that doesn't enrich my life and my being happy and my breathing and my relationships. You know what I'm saying? We're not talking about family. We're talking about something else. Or we're talking about family, but in a negative way. Like, we're spreading each other's secrets.
Yeah.
You know what
because
I'm saying?
I think it's because we've rose above the 3D level, and like they're all stuck on this, like, oh, we're going to work and let's talk about this and what we're going to get for lunch, and like, oh, no, and talk about this person. And like, I remember being at work, and oh my God, it would annoy me so bad because they would literally talk about shit about people on lunch breaks. And I'd be like, dude, this isn't me. Like, I don't sit here and talk about who's got the next nice Michael Kors bag and all this other. I don't care about that crap. Like, what are we doing as a collective to heal? That's what I'm on. And you talk about that kind of stuff, and you get this fluoride stare from most people.
Because they're like looking at you like, well, this girl thinks she's about to change the world or some shit.
Like, watch me. I'm about to. Watch me. But we
all try to do that.
Right.
Like, good idea.
Yes, good idea. Gosh, I was going to say something. I think it's like cool now that I understand how important it is to have encouragement, and that's why I think a lot of us starseeds and like a lot of us like awakened people. We're being brought together, but we're all spread out across the world. Like I have all these cool, amazing friends that are literally on other sides of the world. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what I would do without you. I don't know what I would do without you, girl. Like living all the way across the world. But I'm like, they're meant that we were meant to like find each other in this lifetime, because you're like an encourager for me, even though I don't have it like in my immediate family, or I don't have it like in my neighborhood. Like I can jump on Facebook and be like, oh, what's up, you know, and like they understand, they get it. And I'm like, oh, I just love all my people that are like my people.
Bittersweet feeling. It's a bittersweet feeling because we have so many people online and like our friends, but it's bitter because like when you start to think about the people in your immediate circle who are like on your level, you know what I'm saying? And it's not that, see, like for me, like and trying to live my life and not trying to tell people how to live theirs, it can get really lonely because like no one really is understanding what I'm going through. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like only I can go on Twitter and tweet my thoughts and people will like it. And those people understand what I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? But like, aside from that, everyone probably thinks that I'm freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Or that like I have problems or that I'm like depressed or something, or that I'm seeking help. And it's like, no, I'm just trying to be like myself in a world where it's kind of hard because everyone else is not being their selves. You know?
Right. It's like everyone has a mask on, and a lot of people get really bothered by other people's authenticity too. Like I've found that in my life, like just being myself, just being like my bubbly, crazy, artistic, like happy self. Like I get so much hate. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, like we should want to like bring each other up and see each other happy. And like, there's just some haters out there that just hate to see you shine. And I'm like, how do I get to a point where I master not letting these people get to me? Because to this day, like, it just brings up so much of my childhood abandonment and like rejection. And I'm just like, one person, it could be someone that just doesn't even matter. Like they'll jump on and say something like mean to me on Facebook or whatever. And it's like, it'll ruin my whole day. I still let it happen. And I'm like, why? These people don't matter. They don't matter at all. Like you have your people that understand you. What does it matter if this one doesn't? Or so I'm trying to still get to that point.
There's a lot of love to go around. There's a lot of love to go around, and that's why I'm glad that I'm on here talking about this, because like the love that I have to give to you and the love that you have to give to me and the resonance that we feel, so many other people feel that way too. You know?
Yeah.
And it's hard when you think about like, you know, the people around you, but at the same time, there's a lot of support. Even support that we can't see. Like the odds are kind of in our favor in a sense because they're within us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like we have the keys. We have to do the work.
True. So beyond true, man. Well, it was so awesome to have you on. We'll have to jump on again for sure, girl. And we'll have to get Ivan on, man. I want to connect with y'all. And I have to figure out if Zoom is going to charge me or not for the 3 people. I think it's changed recently, but I'll have to look into it. But it would be so cool to get you both on. I think, what did he want to talk about? Oh, what was it? Gurus. The gurus in the communities. That's going to be a good topic because there is a lot of those in the spiritual community, and that's
how I got into the Ashiana DNA.
Yeah, the Christic stuff.
Well, Ivan was the one who really put me onto that stuff by giving me all the files and information and adding me to the Facebook groups. But before that, I was posting like a lot of like, what was I posting? Like symbiology, symbols, cult stuff, you know what I'm saying? But I got that from a so-called guru. You could call him a guru or like a mentor. He was like this person on Twitter. You take classes and they give you all this information. But the thing about all these gurus is that they tell you what they like, give you the final answer.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's like another religion.
This is exactly how our history went, and this is exactly how our future is going to go, and this is exactly how your body is. You know what I'm saying? And like
some people can say that the what's it called, Kelantic, or not Kelantic, the Ashiana, that you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all of that stuff is the same thing, you know what I'm saying, and in a sense it is if you follow it that way.
It is.
Yeah.
It can be like that. There's a lot of beautiful things in it. A lot of good that's come from me finding it, but yeah, it has. It's like in the groups and stuff. It's turned into a guru cult. Like it's turned. I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of the leaders, and it's mostly men. I'll say it right now. It's mostly men who lead these little groups, and then they
Yeah.
get all prideful and in their egos because they're all puffed up from everyone. And like I've seen it so many times, and I'm just like, this ain't where it's at either. Like it doesn't feel
Right.
good. It doesn't feel organic or pure. So I've just made it a point, like, okay, I have my people, do the discernment, do the work, learn it for yourself. It's a lot of
Find
information.
out, fuck around and find out for yourself. Like, don't
Right.
go here and expect somebody to know more than you will.
Man, it's
Like,
a
you
lot
have
of,
flesh and bones, you have a brain in your skull, like you can experience the same shit that they're experiencing.
yeah, and it's a lot of information, that stuff. Like, and a lot of people expected me to be here, and believe this and that. And I'm like, dude, I'm barely getting through the Voyager books. Like, I'm just learning this stuff. Like, chill out. I'm trying to learn this on my own. And you're like, telling me this and that. So yeah, it's almost like another religion I found. So I'm like,
Yeah.
look, I'm good on your groups, I'm good on your little guru cliques, I'm good on this, that, like, let me just learn this on my own and find out on my own, and I'll make a decision on what I believe and disbelieve. But so far it's been a good journey. I mean, it's been very interesting finding the Christic teachings, reading the books by her, and even some of the techniques I've found that like have helped me. Like I feel the activation in me. I feel my DNA is activating. But yeah, it's a lot of information, and that's for me, like it's too overload sometimes. I got to take like spurts. Like, okay, I'll read a couple chapters in the Voyager books. I'll do like a technique, and then I'll just like sit on it for months cuz it's just so much
Yeah.
information. Like that stuff's a confusing, some of it.
I will literally fall asleep reading it every time, but I'm a fast reader, so like I get through a lot of like books pretty fast. And I do enjoy reading them because I feel like they do spark sometimes memory, sometimes like oh, this sounds right, like this feels a lot better, you know what I'm saying, like this makes sense actually. But then again, I just take everything with a grain of salt. I take what I feel will help me, and then with the things that I feel like, is she being too much? Like, are we doing too much here? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I need to experience this firsthand before I go and take someone's word for it.
Yeah, I agree. So that's where that discernment kicks in too. Like just discern things, do your own journey, and I think we're getting there. We're on the right track for sure, it sounds like. But yeah, so anyway, so we'll jump on another podcast again. We'll get Ivan on, and it was so lovely to speak to you finally, and just kind of hear your journey. And yeah, thank you again, Nicole, and I'll talk with you soon. Have a good night.
You too.